Every year, government announce budget worth billions, sometimes trillions of naira. Yet, for many citizens, the budget is a government document that is meant for accountants and politicians. Then the big question, if it is public money, shouldn't the public have a voice on how this money is spent? Joining us today is Mr. Olajide Bangushe, who has an extensive experience in governance, public finance, and citizen engagement. Welcome to the conversation.
Good afternoon, the good people of Nigeria, the good people of Oyo State.
Every year, government announce budget, sometimes billions, sometimes trillions of naira. To an average Nigerian, to an average citizen, what does the budget mean to them?
To an average Nigerian, to an average citizen, budget means the government income and the expenditure over a period of time, mainly a year. That is to them what government intend to get and how they are going to spend it over a period of year. That is in a simple term to an average Nigerian. That is what they call budget.
When we talk about budget, why should an ordinary citizen care about the budget?
Budget, aside the constitution, the budget is the second most important document that affects the life of every citizen. In the sense that when you talk about economic development, what will shape your life for that year, budget is important, is one. For instance, when you talk about the directions in terms of infrastructural development, what government is going to do in terms of road, education, health, what will happen within that year, it is within the budget framework that we show. If there is going to be an increase in the life or in the expenses of the people, it's going to reflect in the budget. So for instance, tax. You can see directly that from the budget pronouncement, the government is going to increase the budgetary or the budget or the tax that citizens will be made
for that year.
Yeah, for that year. You could see how they are going to get the funds. We also reflect when government is going to borrow, what are the impact, the likely impact of that borrow on the life of the people is going to show them. So it is crucial for citizens to be aware of this so that you will know and you will tighten your bet, whether you are going to tighten your bet or you are going to lose your bet for that period of year. Budget will show you that direction. So that is one of the important things. Then also what is going to turn, how their life is going to be. Welfare in terms of welfare of them for that year. Budget will also show directions. For instance, a citizen should also be able to also ascertain whether government is going to spend more on education, whether the education of their children will be better, whether it is in health, even whether it is in the areas of agriculture. When you talk about food security, the budget, all those figures, all those interpretations will tell you exactly what will be the direction of that government for that year. So it is crucial for you to know what government have in stock or what is the year we have in store for you, because budget will determine what will be the direction of governance and development for that year.
So budget actually revealed the most important sector.
And that's why I said the second most important document outside the constitution is the budget of the state.
So if budget is actually important to every citizen, then of what importance is citizen participation in budget process?
Is very crucial. But unfortunately, the kind of society we have, or the kind of environment we are operating, people are the government, those people in authority have also deprived the citizens the levels of participation until recently. People believe that budget should be within the convoy of maybe technocrats, bureaucrats who are in the government circle. No.
Because even from your explanation,
the budget is meant to affect the life of the people. Yes. So if you are going to affect the life of the people must also be involved.
Sure.
For instance, they say it is the person who's wear the shoes know where it pinches. Government cannot tell me exactly what will happen in my community if they don't consult me. So government need to also consult people so that they will be able to ascertain what is the true situation of things. But in most cases, at the preparative step, they don't do this. Some people will just sit down in their office, assume they know, which in most cases may not be true, may be a wrong assumption. And that is why we always emphasize that government should allow citizens to participate in the budget process from onset. At the preparative stage, we have a lot of opening there. that citizens can come in and participate, where they can collate actually the needs of the people in any sector of the economy. We talk about agriculture, health, education, even infrastructural development. They need to consult people so that they will know exactly what the people want, not that what they assume the people want.
You just talked about consultation. When we talk about this consultation, we know it is actually important. But are they actually implementing citizens' input, or they are just formalities?
Let me use Oyo State as an example. In the last 6 years, I will not say they are there 100% in terms of levels of implementation of those things.
Because year in, year out, we
have been seeing some ray of hope that some of those issues, demands, needs of the citizens have been mainstreamed into the state budget. And some of them have been addressed. We talk about infrastructure. There was a lot of noise concerning health in the past, and they have carried out innovation, they have recruited personnel based on the demands of the people. Because when they do the remodeling, about 4 or 5 years ago, people started making noise, say, is it the building that matters or the personnel? In the last 2 years or a year ago, they have recruited staff to man those facilities. So to a greater extent, I can say we have been seeing some ray of hope, unlike departure, which is a total departure from the past when government don't consult. But I think we have been seeing some of those demands going into the state budget.
So when we talk about this consultation, should the people still be at the mercy of whosoever is in power, or should these consultations and citizen participation in budgets be institutionalized?
I said it from the beginning. There are 4 stages of budget. We have preparation, we have enactment, we have implementation, then we have audit. At every level, there is always an opening for citizen participation. But does government allow it? The answer is no. In the past, even in the present, to a greater extent, there are some areas that were still closed to citizens. And there is no way you can know the people more, you can know the environment more than the people.
Definitely.
And that's why in recent time, people have been advocating for it. Can we make it a policy issue of consultation? Because in advanced democracy, all this consultation must take place. You see, that's why we say we have lawmakers who are representative of the people. It's part of their function is to go back to their constituency, collate the needs of their people. Now, when at that level they consult at their own level, at the levels of preparations, we have the MDAs that are also they are sector based. They are expected to consult when they were adding the figures. They were putting these materials together at the levels of preparation of development of MTSS, and others. But they don't do it. They don't do it. It is of recent that they also now openly give an opener that, okay, at every budget preparation, there must be a budget consultative meeting.
Town meeting.
Yeah, which they call town meeting. It's more global in nature. Even though some of us are tired arguing, some of us also tired advocating that let us also have a sector-based consultative meetings. In the health, you can have people who are in that area, stakeholders in the health, you engage them, you get information. In the education, say like that. So it makes it more informed, more holistic, and more inclusive in nature. Unlike a global approach where everybody will come with their this and that. We may not be able to streamline this along with the MTSS that is being developed over a period of time. But when you have a sector-based group, but also we are not ruling out making it a town meeting where you collect the needs of the people. But we also notice that when they get these needs, who are those people who share or who break it down to sectors? Do they really do this? Do they really say, okay, this goes to agriculture, and this is the dimension of the day? Does this one go to education and health? The Ministry of Budget, to a greater extent, says they do this. But how many of those NDAs actually comply with this when it comes to preparations of their budget?
2 questions. If budget is actually public money, then why are the public barred from contributing to the 4 processes of budget? And secondly, How do you think we can actually institutionalize the little progress we've made in Oyo State?
There is corruption. It's number one reason. It's corruption. It is when you know that you'll be able to question. I've said it several times. If corruption did not kill Nigeria, Nigeria will kill corruption. It's corruption. You see, when people get to know, and that is the beauty of democracy, people will be able to ask questions.
People don't question.
People will be demands for accountability and transparency. But in the situations where they don't know, they may not be able to ask. So the number one bane is corruption. That is why they were denying people access to budget information. Number two has to do with well, some are making some greater changes, like we now have citizen budget. The way they also couched this budget will also be technical. That we deny another person will tell you and say, all these things are just figures. What is my business? There, throw it away. But those figures need interpretation. So an average person who, even illiterate, mama, a farmers, will carry it and understand that this is my life for the next 1 year, and this is what they say. And that is the argument some of us are putting forward. And that's why some states, for instance, some states now have a citizen budget, where they use infographic to explain some of these things that an average person, if you talk maybe other things about my say, you don't do it. Understand things like that, and who have been advocating for that. If you continue to couch budget in an unfriendly framework or figures, ambiguous language, it will continue to steer people away from interested in what is happening in that country. And it's dangerous for development. That will continue to bar what they call democratic representative and development. So I think they should also, it's also because of the technical nature and all this, but there is nothing technical. It's about figure, it's about interpretation, it's about life. Can we make it more lively for people to be interested? So that more people will be interested. If the more people interested, the more there will be a reduction in corruption. The more there will be a waste of resources. Because we will continue to ask questions. Why are you doing this? This is what we want. The more we will achieve effectiveness and efficiency in fund management, the more we'll be able to ascertain ownership and sustainability of those interventions. But if you don't have all those four indices, it's going to be difficult. If you are still using those old approach of budgeting, people will continue not to be interested, or people will continue to be steered away from the issue concerning budgets.
So budget should be a document.
Then how do we institutionalize it? Simple. We can start with a policy. It could be if making it a law is difficult. For instance, now in Oyo State, we have been trying to get Oyo State fiscal responsibility law. I can't remember the year. I know we have one. To see, because these are laws that talks about public financing, spending, and all these things. To see where we can put those sections that will institutionalize this process. So that if any government comes and says, I'm not going to do this, people can challenge this government to come. So you understand? But we have been trying to get it. We have been in the state library at the House of Assembly. It's not there. And we try to see if we can get it. But if we don't get it, maybe we join other forces to write a new French fiscal responsibility. They have it in Ondo, even though their own announcement did not even touch the area concerning the budget institutionalization of consultative.
To ensure that this actually happens, like what role do you think government, CSOs, and even citizens, what role do you think each of these sectors needs to take up to actually ensure that we have a participatory budgetary approach?
Why? Government should be willing to open up. Government should be willing to open the system for the people to participate. You see, we are talking about participation and inclusiveness. It has to do with the behavior. The behaviors and characters of the states. I don't want to bother you with all this class theory. The character of the states, the character of most of these capitalists say close the systems. That is why I said the government also needs to be willing to open and embrace the people. Then the people, aside that, government should also be able to be more transparent in terms of people follow their books, their laws. For instance, the Procurement Act of the Procurement Law for your state states this, the state is doing this. The law says the procurement process of the state should be open. And they said they should publish every procurement process on the your state contract portal. But as I'm talking to you about 4 or 5 years ago, it has been shut down. Your state government needs to go and work on this. They must open that portal so that people can have access to who gets what, how much are they getting those contracts, and where are those contracts situated, so that people can track. Okay, what is the essence of participating in the budget consultative meeting? When we demand for this, and you are awarding the contract, we don't know how much you award the contract. Where is the project site? Who are the contractors? I think government should be willing to open the space for people to participate.
That's a large.
That is on the part of this. On the part of the citizen. The citizens should also be encouraged to ask questions. Ask questions from their representative. I will continue to say this. We have there are 3 major functions of lawmakers. The first is representation. The second is oversight. The third is lawmaking. If we actually have a true representative at the House, I think those representatives should be regularly engaged. I use the word engaged by their constituents. When we regularly engage them, we ask questions, we engage them, we say this, and we let them know the challenges we are facing. So that by the time the budget gets to the enactment stage, where they're supposed to give approval, they will be looking for is the presence of our people available there. So we should not be discouraged by the attitude. I think people should find a way. Maybe at your community meeting, you can invite your lawmakers. They should come. So that they can come, they can they can understand the challenges people are facing. You will be shocked. Most of the lawmakers are no longer living in their constituency. They are now living in GRAs and the big places at the expense of them. So how do they now understand the plight of their people? So we must find a way of organizing a mini town meeting, or what I call constituency outreach, within our various committees to engage them. Number 2, government should make ministries and MDA, ministry, agencies, and departments to functions. Functions in terms of they should create an opening for people to constructively engage them. I see no reasons why a commissioner for agriculture or commissioner for environment will not be doing accountability, give account of what they have been using public funds for in their various sectors. So that people can also ask questions. I see no reasons why commissioner in the process of preparation does not take time to go around their various stakeholders to collate the needs of their sectors that will be mainstream into the budget. For instance, you have a commissioner for, let me use commissioner for health, for instance. I want to see commissioner for health meeting workers in the health sector, meeting, occasionally have a feedback meetings with the patients of the various facilities, so that they will be able to know where the gap is, so that by the time they were preparing any fiscal year budget, they'll be able to mainstream all these direct needs, not to be doing incremental budget. Last year, we spent 15 million on construction of road. Let's increase it by 15%. It's not reasonable because they did not consider the inflationary trend. They did not consider the reality at that very moment. The reality of last year is different from the reality of this year because of some economic indices. They don't consider it. They will just increase it. That is not reasonable budget. For CSO, I think CSO should be the vanguard of educating and sensitizing the citizen to show more interest on issues concerning budget, particularly in the areas of promoting accountability. And they can assist citizens also in break down some of those technical issues that ordinary citizens will also be able to understand and use it to engage.
Before we wrap up, if there is one reform you think will actually strengthen citizen participation in budgetary process, what would that be?
Change in the procurement process. open the procurement process in Oyo State. Open the procurement process and follow the process to the core. Follow the law. You see, it is unfortunate to have the law, but it's another practice to follow it to the latter. In most cases, some of those laws are fantastic, but government don't follow them. I don't want to, if for instance, throughout the whole federation, throughout the whole Nigeria, including the federal, as I'm talking to you, government have not, as of today, inaugurate the procurement council, even at the national level. And this is the council that's supposed to be in charge of award of contract. What we've seen all over the 36 states, including Abuja, is that executive council. Go and read at the procurement act and the procurement laws. Because it is going to create a levels of independence and effective management of that process, and that is where the corruption is now. The corruption is not in the contract that they award the contract. No, the corruption is in the process of awarding that contract that is not fully open. The corruption is now in the areas of bidding and tender. Do they follow the rules? These are critical issues, because by the time they create an advantage for a contractor, which is their own contractor, it's at the expense of the people. So that is where we have, that area should also be open up. Thank God we have now seen some of them open the level of preparations. Yes, we have been seeing them making an input, but we are not saying we are 100% there. But when it comes to enhancement, yes, some of us are preparing shadow budget to the house to also use to compare to what the government is now presenting. But what happened at the levels of awarding the contract? Do they follow the rules? Do they follow the procurement document that says everybody that needs to get this contract must follow these things? How many of those projects awarded so far follow those based on? These are critical questions, and that is where the corruption is. And that is where, and the implication of that is that if you don't get it right there, you are not going to get it right at the levels of implementation. Because they have cut corner. If they're supposed to have 30 billion, you now have 10 billion that is getting to the contractor. So what do you expect them to do with a project that will cost 30 billion, but you are now collecting 10 billion? So contractor will also cut corner. In the long run, what will happen? The durability or the project, the efficiency of that project will be compromised. That is why you see a lot of substandard construction going all over the place. Government will tell you they rehabilitate this place tomorrow. By the time you get there a day after, you see they start falling down. And that's the consequence of a poor procurement process.
With all these gaps that you've identified in procurement process, how do you think we can actually challenge this?
We need an oversight agencies to function effectively. We have different oversight. We have oversight at the levels of executive. We have oversight at the levels of legislator. What is their functions? 2, we must follow the rules. What is the law says concerning bidding? What is the law says concerning award of contract? What are the processes they need to follow? What are the things they need to do? Because this one will give us a level playing ground for all contractors. And it will be open and transparent for everybody to see, to know the levels of transparency on the part of the government. Sure, you understand? So if they follow that rule, if the oversight agencies do the needful, we are going to be there. Then also, citizens should be ready to ask questions. Citizens must be ready to also track what is happening in their environment. Because if you don't track, there's no way you have information that you can use to engage government. So government, citizens should also be ready to track. The media should be ready to amplify gap where there is. Because the way we are going now, in the media too, the noise they were making is that they need money, they need advertisement, and it is the government that patronizes them. It is the peoples in authority that have the power. They have left their social responsibility to the society. So media should also assist us in amplify some of those gaps. If I tell you they should review the law, yes, they can review the law. But the danger there is that is it the law that is faulty or our behaviors? I think there is also need for total reorientations of an average Nigeria with the right orientations. If we get it right, then on institutionalizations of the budget process, I think there is also a need for either they should initiate a policy or a law or amend a law, particularly fiscal responsibility law of the state or act, to enforce or to input these demands that every levels of budget preparation, citizens should be consulted. And each state or each government should also devise how they are going to consult them. There are different ways they can consult. Like I said, they can have a sector engagement. Sector engagement where we talk about health, people concerning health will be engaged. Agricultural, people like that, education, who are professional outside the government. That's a sector engagement. They can have holistic engagement, that is a general town meeting, where every actor, irrespective of the sector, will come, sit and make their demands. It depends on the angle we are looking at it. But I think it should be compulsory that citizens should be consulted at the levels of budget preparation. Then, like I said, the oversight institutions like House of Assembly should wake up. The lawmakers should stop being appendage to the executive arms. They are independent arms of government. If they operate like an independent arms, they will be able to raise some questions and they will be able to work effectively in the interest of the people. But if they continue to dance to the tune of the executive, there is no way, I repeat, there is no way we can have an inclusive or participatory budgeting or governance in this country.
Thank you so much for that, sir. Today's conversations reminds us that democracy does not begin and ends at the ballot box. It continues in everyday decisions on how public resources are allocated, budgeted for, and spent. Thank you so much for sharing all these valuable insights, sir.
You are welcome.
And thank you for joining the conversation. If you find today's discussion insightful, we would love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comment section and join the conversation. Bye for now.